Zodiac killer still haunts victim's sister as surprising new theory emerges. I'm still hoping for closure. The cold cases are being examined in a new true crime docuseries, Myth of the Zodiac Killer. For over 50 years, Chris Chambers has wondered who murdered her sister. It was 1969 when Darlene Ferrin, a popular waitress in Vallejo, California, became one of the victims of the self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer. The identity of the murderer, who killed at least 5 people in California during the 60s, is still unknown today. Chambers told Fox News Digital that her parents passed away without ever knowing who took their daughter's life. But she's hopeful that in her lifetime, answers will finally be revealed. I'm still hoping for closure, said Chambers. I think the truth can still be found out there. I haven't given up. Chambers has come forward for a new true crime docuseries on Peacock titled, Myth of the Zodiac Killer. It aims to investigate a theory made by Professor Thomas Henry Horan, that the Zodiac was nothing more than a hoax. Horan's book, The Myth of the Zodiac Killer, a literary investigation, theorizes that there were possibly multiple murderers that wreaked havoc in the Bay Area and the slayings may not have been connected. The special, directed by Andrew Knock, features interviews with loved ones, investigators, experts, a witness and critics who have questioned Horan's idea, as well as Horan himself. Chambers said she's heard it all over the years. But she doesn't want to rule out a possibility that could lead to answers. I have to look at all of it, she explained. I have to keep an open mind because nothing else has worked. But it's hard. Whenever something comes up in the newspaper or online, I start all over again, thinking about the what ifs. I'm hoping someone out there may know something, anything to help solve this crime. I want to find out who killed my sister, Chambers said, fighting back tears. And there are other families who are still grieving. Darlene isn't just a character in a story. People sometimes forget these are real people. And their families are still hurting. Now, I have read some theories that are just outrageous. Sometimes you can't think about it or even look at them. But if you get a good group of people together, and they all start thinking a little differently, maybe it might bring out something good. The first confirmed slayings took place on Dec. 20, 1968. High school students Betty Lou Jensen, 16, and David Arthur Faraday, 17, were found shot by passing motorists in a desolate area that was known as a lover's lane. Jensen, who was pronounced dead at the scene, had 5 bullet wounds in her back. Faraday had a bullet wound in his head but was still clinging to life. He succumbed to his injuries on the way to the hospital. More than 6 months later, on July 4, 1969, a similar attack occurred 4 miles away. Ferrin picked up her pal Michael Mageau, 19, and was parked at Vallejo's Blue Rock Springs Park. A vehicle pulled into the lot around midnight and then left, only to return minutes later, History.com reported. According to the outlet, the driver got out of the car and shot the pair. Mageau, who was hit in the jaw, shoulder and leg, survived. That same night, a man called the Vallejo Police Department and claimed responsibility for the shooting, as well as the previous murders along Lake Herman Road, the San Francisco Examiner reported. Just a few weeks later, the first letters allegedly written by the killer arrived at several San Francisco newsrooms. He taunted the press and police, boasting about his crimes and warning he'd strike again. The letters came with ciphers which he claimed held his true identity. One long cipher was solved by a Salinas schoolteacher and his wife. It said little beyond, "I like killing because it is so much fun." While correspondence continued to arrive intermittently until 1974, the authentication of many of the letters has been debated over the years, the UK's Independent reported. On Sept. 27, 1969, college students Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, and Brian Calvin Hartnell, 20, were relaxing along the shore of Lake Berryessa, History.com reported. A man wearing a hooded costume with a white cross circle approached them, holding a gun. He bound their wrists before stabbing Hartnell 6 times, the outlet reported. Shepard was stabbed 10 times. The stranger then called the Napa Police Department to report a double murder. Hartnell survived and Shepard died 2 days later. Then on October 11, 1969, cab driver Paul Stein picked up a fare heading to the Presidio Heights neighborhood, the outlet shared. At the intersection of Washington and Cherry Streets, the passenger shot the 29-year-old in the head. The killer ripped off a piece of Stein's shirt and mailed it to the San Francisco Chronicle with a letter from the Zodiac. Chambers said she was 16 when her sister died. She later moved out of Vallejo to escape the media scrutiny that followed her family. I got an unlisted number and would tell reporters not to call back, she said. My niece was only a year and a half when her mother was killed. I didn't want them to learn anything about me. I just shut everything out. My sister was full of life, Chambers reflected. She was extremely friendly. She had lots of friends and was wonderful to be around. She was a great gal. She was always smiling and very loving. I remember she would pick me up, get me out of the house, and take me places. How did I cope with her death? I had my family with me constantly. According to Chambers, she never connected with Majot despite her efforts. I remember he couldn't walk or talk for a long time, she said. I never could get him on the phone or talk to him in person. I tried a few times. I think maybe one of my sisters might have talked to him. But he was really messed up. He wouldn't talk about it. There have been other possible victims during the 60s and 70s. In 2021, the FBI announced that the Zodiac killer case is open and unsolved. Over the years, the case spawned numerous books, movies, and documentaries. Both professional and amateur sleuths have also attempted to unmask the killer.